I hope you're having a good time in the presence of God. I'm Raven, if I haven't met you. Hello. I did get a lot of hugs last night, and I feel really, really good about it. So no one scared me. I went home feeling very loved. Listen, we've got a main verse that we're going to be talking about all week this week, and we just want to keep reminding you of that main verse. And so one of the ways that we like to do that in our kids' church back home, we live in Tampa. Has anybody ever been to Florida before? Yeah? Okay, so it's pretty cool. We got the palm trees, we got the ocean, we've got the beaches. Do you guys like to go to the beach? Yes? I love to go. I think I'm going to hang there this afternoon. Like, we're going to go to the beach. That sounds like fun, right? Take you? All right, so this week we are excited to be here with you. We're from Tampa, like I said. And in Tampa, we have our own kids ministry there that we also are every single week. Kids just like you, and we learn the memory verse just like this. Are you ready to hear it? Okay, we call our memory verse, say the big word. Say big word. Okay, now listen. We're gonna have to be a little louder than that because the people on the ocean the people at the beach need to hear us, okay? So we're gonna do that a little bit louder. So big word. All right, so here's our big word. I'm gonna say a line and then I want you to repeat it after me. You got it? Say, got it. Okay, here we go. It says, he gave his life. Remember, the people at the beach need to hear you. He gave his life to free us from every kind of sin, to cleanse us, and to make us his very own people, totally committed to doing good deeds. Titus 2. Okay, so this is something that we do that's a little different, okay? There's these little dots in between. You see 2:14. So I need you to stand up with me, okay? Stand up with me. So we're gonna do Titus 2, and then I'm gonna say ... When I do ... I want you to jump as high as you can. Can you do that? Can you do it? Okay, we're gonna jump as high as we can, and we're gonna say it as loud as we can because we want people to hear it at the where? At the beach. Okay, all right, here we go. So Titus 2... ... 14. One more time. Titus 2... ... 14. Oh, that was pretty good. I think that we jumped high enough and we were loud enough to get to the beach. Anybody ready for that? We're not going to the beach just yet. Not just yet. Okay, so one more time. He gave his life to free us from every kind of sin, to cleanse us, and to make us his very own people, totally committed to doing good deeds. Titus 2. Titus 2. ... 14. All right, Pastor Matt, I think they're ready. Are you guys ready for the word? Are you ready for the word? All right. Welcome, Pastor Matt.
Okay, so last night we told you, me and Pastor Joe were talking, and I told you, I pulled out some shoes. And these shoes, I pulled out one shoe and I said, can this shoe do its job by itself? And you said no. And I said, this cheesy joke, I said, if you have one leg, it'll work. Then I pulled out two mismatching shoes and I said, do these go together? And you said no. Then I put them together and told you, when you put them together, they're together, but they're totally different. One's right, one's left. You know the story. Then Pastor Joel talked about the prodigal son, how the dad, he asked the dad, he pretty much said to the dad, hey, you're dead to me. And he wanted all the money. He took all the money. He blew all the money. You know the story that he told you last night. And he was so hungry, he ate the trash that the pigs ate. But the whole time in the story, he said the dad was outside waiting on him to come home, and he accepted him with open arms. And that's what God does to you. So we told you being the redeemed is being in the family of Jesus. So to add to that, to catch you up for today, I want to tell you a story. Now, I have a younger sister. Does anybody have a younger sister in the room? Okay. If they're beside you, don't answer this. If they're under this tent, don't answer this. Think it in your head. But if they're not in the tent, you can answer this. My sister gets on my nerves. Me and my sister are 6 years apart. I'm old, but she's younger. We're both adults. We both have kids. We both are married, have families. But to this day, she still gets on my nerves. When I was little, I would do things because I knew what I could get away with. And I knew what I could trick my mom and dad into. And my sister would always admit to stuff, even when she didn't do it. So one day, this is not in my notes, this is free. We had a front yard and it was fenced in, but we had a sidewalk that went like this and it curved. Well, her window was the front window. And she was getting on my nerves really bad that day, and she wasn't getting in trouble. So I bounced the basketball, and I bounced the basketball, and I bounced it too high, and it went to the window, and it cracked the front window. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? My mom and dad weren't home, but she was asleep on the couch, and I thought, I'm going to put this basketball in her room in the middle of her floor. My mom and dad came home. I was playing Nintendo. This is when I was little. Nintendo. It was called Old Nintendo. And I heard them scream my sister's name. And they said, what did you do to that front window? And she says, I don't know. And she said, did you bounce that basketball through that window? And she goes, I guess so. And she didn't. It was me. And still to this day, she doesn't know I broke that window. And that was 30 years ago. That was free. So I want to tell you a story that tells you a little bit about my sister. So before we get started, I want to tell you a story of a time I was a real life spy. Now, when you think of a spy, you think of someone in disguise. You can't see them. They sneak around, okay? When I was a kid, me and my sister would spend time with my grandma. Now, my grandma lived on a farm. Now, when you think of farms in the South, you think of horses, cows, pigs, chickens. You think there's poop everywhere. It's goats. It smells bad, right? Okay, so imagine for a second we're on a farm. Visualize that. Smell the smells. Think of all the stuff. Just visualize it in your head. So everything my grandma did was always fresh and homemade. She never went to Target. She never went to Walmart. She would go to farmer's market. We would eat the eggs that, stuff the pigs would make, stuff the chickens would make. We would drink the milk from the cows like straight. It was fresh, okay? She loved to bake and make chocolate chip cookies. There's just something about cookies in the oven, that smell. You're like, but here was the thing. She would never, ever let us help. Never, ever. Because, sometimes there's some old people in the room, so we're going to use a code. Old people. These old people want to do stuff themselves. They don't want you to help, right? So she would never let us help, but when the oven would go off, and she would get the cookies out of the oven, but when the cookies are done and she puts them in the oven, sometimes you just stare at the oven or the microwave when you're cooking like this. And that timer seems like it lasts forever to go off, right? It'll say like 5 minutes, and the whole time you're just staring at it like, this 5 minutes is taking forever. So when the cookies would come out of the oven, she would say this to me and my sister. She would say, these cookies are way too hot. They've got to cool off. Do not touch them because I know exactly how many cookies there are. Has your parent, anybody ever said that to you? You've made cookies. They put it out. They say, it's too hot. Don't touch them. I know how many cookies there are. And in your head, you're thinking multiple things, and you're thinking, I could sneak one and she wouldn't know. And then you'd move stuff around. But then you would think, does she really know exactly how many there are? But see, I was personally scared to death of my grandma because she would do exactly what she said. And when we'd get in trouble, she had this thing called a fly swatter. You know what that is? Okay. In Florida, no one knew what that was when I told this story. But she would take that fly swatter and she'd swat that leg, and that junk hurts. And she would strap your back, She didn't play. So I was scared of my grandma. But almost every time the cookies would get done, some cookies always came up missing. She always seemed to know. I didn't take them because I was afraid of the fly swatter. So in my head, I thought to myself, who's taking these cookies? Was it my granddad? Was it the dog? Because if you got a dog, dogs will jump up anywhere and get food. Was it the cat? Was it our next door neighbor sneaking in the house because he smelled the cookies? Or was it my sister? Now, here's, I want to ask you a question. Who thinks it was my granddad? In my head, I thought that too. I think the grandma was being shady and she was taking and blaming us. Okay? Was it who thinks it was the dog? Nobody. Who thinks it was the cat? Nobody. Oh, you. Good answer. Who thinks it was the next door neighbor smelling the cookies? Okay, a few of y'all. That's kind of shady. Or who thinks it was my sister? Bro, y'all are so, okay, hands down. Okay. So now, but listen, now, but that don't mean nothing. So now I was on this top secret mission to find out. I was like, I've got to figure this out. So yeah, it was like a secret spy. I was like sneaking around. I was like, how am I going to figure this out? So a few weeks later comes up. We go back to my grandma's house. Same situation, same story. She makes the cookies. She won't let us help. We're mad. She gets them out. Ding, the oven goes off. She sets them out. She says, they're too hot. Don't touch. I know exactly how many they are. And I'm like, okay, this is setting this up for the same exact thing. But this time I'm going to be secret and I'm going to figure this out. So I go to my room. I'm going to move this up. So I go to my room. You know when you're in your room and it's real quiet, but you hear a noise. I hear this noise in the kitchen. So I didn't want to open the door real quick because I'm about to bust somebody like on Phineas and Ferb. You know, the sister always tries to catch. She's like, Phineas! You know, so I'm like, I'm going to catch. So I crack the door open and I see none other than my sister. Okay, but listen, I see my sister and she's like, here's the table. And she's moving these cookies around. Because you know when the cookies, if you move them, they're still too hot. You'll see like the residue where it is. So she's moving them around to make sure that nobody can catch her. So I'm like, I see my opportunity. I'm like, I'm about to bust her. She's about to get attacked by that fly swatter. So I scream her name as loud as humanly possible. And I say, Whitney! And then all of a sudden, she freaks out and she starts shoving all these cookies in her mouth. I'm talking, they're hot, bro. They're hot. But she's trying to hide the evidence. Now you got to think, I screamed at the top of my lungs. So here comes my grandma. You know when your grandmama gets mad, she get that fly swatter in that hand. And she's like, what is going on here? And she looks directly at me. Then she looks at my sister. And she asks, what is all over your mouth? And she says, is that a cookie? You know when your grandmama's mad, that vein pops out of her neck, her face gets red, and her voice and her chest blows up like this, and you're like, it's about to be dead time. And with it, so my grandma says again to us, what is all over your mouth, Whitney? Is that a cookie? And she says without hesitation, nope. And my grandma's mad at this time. And she says, well, then what is it? And my sister responds with, it's poop. She couldn't think of anything better to say, but it was poop in her mouth. She could have said Nutella. She could have said any chocolate chip cookie, but she says poop. Where is your mind to automatically go to you ate poop? Okay. So that is my spy story, and I'm sticking to it. Well, today, I'm not going to talk about that at all, but I'm setting you up for something you're thinking, how in the world does this story about cookies and poop have anything to do with the Bible? Well, here's what we're going to do. Before we get too deep into this, what we're going to tell you today, if you remember anything, it's called Accept the Mission. Okay? If you remember anything, it's Accept the Mission. Okay, so before we get into it, we're going to give you a verse, and it's Joshua 1:9, and it says, be strong and courageous, for the Lord God is with you wherever you go. So he's saying you got to be strong, you got to be courageous, because God's going to go with you wherever you are. Now, what does that mean when someone says to you, bro, you just got to be strong and you got to be courageous? When you hear the word strong, what automatically pops into your head when you hear the word strong? Muscles, right? Okay. Have you ever seen somebody like a little kid, they flex their muscle? Like, yo, I've been to the gym. And they flex their muscle, and instead of going up, it goes down. Or my kid like he takes karate, right? And his muscles are not that big. They're like maybe like this big. And he'll go, feel my muscle. And I put my hand there and he'll be flexing. He'll be like struggling. You know, like struggle, try to make it move. And I'll go flex it. And he goes, I am. And he gets so mad because I squeeze it. Okay, so what I'm telling you that when it says be strong and courageous, here's the thing. In life sometimes is tough, right? There are some days, let's be 100% real for a minute. Are there days when you wake up and your day's going great, and then one person just ticks you off and makes you mad, or somebody hurts your feelings, and your whole day changes, and you literally want to go to your room, close the door, throw the covers over your head, suck your thumb, and cry? Maybe not suck your thumb, but you know, you want to go to your room, throw the covers over your head, and somebody knocks on the door. What do you want? And they say, are you okay? Just leave me alone. Who is it? Get out. Who says that? The end of the verse. The verse was Joshua 1:9. It says, be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Now, see, I'm going to tell you a story. There, in this story, there's a guy named Joshua. Okay, Joshua, he gets asked to do this top secret spy mission. Okay, top secret. Now, in this mission, God tells him, he says, I want you to take these people called the Israelites to the promised land. Now, this land was a land that was like amazing. Like, think of the best vacation spot, your dream vacation. Disney World, Disneyland. Think about all the stuff you see and you're like, dude, I've got to go there. Your level of expectancy is like, dude, when I get there, this is going to be this. So he says, this is what you've got to do. But, just leave it. It's cool. Just leave it. So here's what you need to know about a spy. Here's what you need to know about someone who's on a top secret mission. You've got to know about this person. Why did God select this guy? Why didn't he select this person, this person? So here's some stuff you got to know about Joshua. Now, Joshua lived to be 110 years old. Dude was old, okay? 110 years old. Now, he started off being a soldier. Like, you know, in Hawaii, we have military bases. So he was a soldier, okay? But this is the crazy part. He was trained for this job for guess how many years he had to train for this? Not 10. He had to train for 40 years. So God visualize this, okay? 40 years, I'm 40 years old, I'm old. That'd be like me from the time I'm born to today. And God says, hey, I want you to take these people to this land that's like Disney World. It's the best of the best. But you've got to train for 40 years. That's a long time. But if you knew it was going to be worth it, would you do it? Would you go that long? Some say yes, some say no, okay? But then here's the thing. During that 40 years of training after that, he had to lead these people 25 years. So would you do 40, then 25? So these people, he tells these people this plan. He says, God is going to carry us to this place that's like Disney. It's going to be epic. But you've got to follow me for 25 years. Would you follow someone if they told you you could have the best of the best, but it was going to take 25 years? No. Who says no? I don't know if I would either, bro. Who says yes? Y'all got some good faith. Because real talk, bro, there'd be some fighting. There'd be some fly swatters. There should be some fist bumping. Okay, so here's why God chose Joshua. He said, you've got two qualities that everybody needs to have. He says, you're faithful, meaning he believed. He believed, and he said he was faithful to the guidance of the word of God, which meant if God told him something, he believed it. Like, have your mom and dad ever told you something and they say, this is going to be probably the most famous quote your parents have ever said to you or your grandparents. They tell you to do something and you say, well, why do I got to do that? And they say this famous line, because I said so. Bro, does that make you not want to like punch a wall? Because you said so, that don't make no sense. So this is what he did. He said, if God said it, he believed it. He didn't ask no questions. He knew that God was going to take him where he needed to go. He was going to do what God said. But here's the thing. He still questioned some stuff. He believed it, but sometimes you still question. You see it, but after a while you're like, bro, I don't know. But see, Joshua had this gift of faith. Now, faith means believing in something you can't see. For example, the wind blew over that chair a second ago. We did not see the wind. We saw the chair fall. We do not see the wind blow in this little curtain, but we can see the curtain moving. That's faith. You know it's the wind. You can't see it, but you can see what it does. Now see, Joshua's faith was peculiar, which meant people weren't used to his leadership. People looked at him differently than anybody else. So, see, he was just an ordinary man, but everybody say, but. That was bad. But everything he did was sincere, and he was always positive. Have you ever met somebody that everything can be going wrong, and you're mad, and you're just like, bro, can today just be over? I just want to go to sleep. And there's somebody going, but today is such a beautiful day. And you're like, I know, but I'm so tired. But think about this. And you're like, But he was so positive like that. So he was a true leader. So here is your story. So now you know about Joshua. You know how long it took. You know about the people. Here's your story. It says this in Joshua 1:1-9. It says, God told Joshua, Moses was his leader. He tells him, he says, yo, Moses is dead. He said, now it's your turn. You've got to lead these people. Remember all the stuff. If you lead them, what you want is going to happen. You're going to have from here to here to here. And he names all these places. He says, but here's the thing. I promise that I'm never going to leave you. And he says, but you've got to be strong and courageous. So he tells him one time, he says, you've got to be strong and courageous. Then he says, in order to get this, you've got to follow all the rules. How many of y'all like to break rules? How many of y'all don't break rules, and if somebody tells you to do something, you do it exactly the way they tell you, and if somebody does it wrong, you're like, you're not supposed to do that. Okay. So he says, follow these rules. He says, follow these rules. And if you do that, you will be successful. Then he says, but what I want you to do is I want you to meditate on these rules. That doesn't mean he sits crisscross applesauce and he goes, No, that means he wants you to think about these rules and believe them, know them frontwards, backwards, and sideways. And he says, but Joshua's he's still kind of like, I don't know. So God says to him for a second time, he says, Joshua, you've got to be strong and courageous. And Joshua's like, this is a long time. And he's like, you got to be strong and courageous. He says it 2 times. So then it says in Joshua 1:5, it says, God's telling me, he said, I will never, ever leave you nor forsake you, which means I'm going to be with you. I'm not going to give up on you. It doesn't matter how many times you mess up. I'm still going to be there. See, God gives us these missions, and he goes with us everywhere we go if we just say this one little word that's 3 letters. If we just say yes. Now, how many of y'all, since you've been at this camp, have seen a big rock? You've seen like a big rock somewhere, okay? Now, this week I want you to look for a big rock. Now, when you see a rock, big rocks are really heavy. Now, we live close to Disney World, and at Disney World there's this giant rock at Disney World. And they have a giant sword in this rock. And it's called the Sword in the Stone. And if you can pull this sword out, you win a free pass to one Disney park. And you have like so many days to do it. And there'll be these real buff people that'll go up to like real muscular. And they'll go up to people, watch them, and they can't pull that thing out. And then there'll be like a little kid like his size. He'll walk up to it. He'll just take one hand and yank that sword out. And everybody's like freaking out. And they're like, how did he do that? But then there's like these little old ladies. And they can pull it out. But then these big buff guys, they can't do it. But here's the thing. Rock, you have to be strong sometimes to pick up a rock. But do you think a rock is stronger than you? Sometimes, say if you weigh like 50 pounds and you go pick up a big rock, you may struggle to pick it up. But sometimes if it's a little bitty rock, you can pick it up with ease, okay? So this week I want you to look for a rock. Now, do you think a rock is stronger than you? Okay. Now, God is saying, I want you to do this not with muscles, but I want you to do this with your heart and your spirit. See, God didn't ask Joshua to be strong alone. He said, I'm going to be with you. A lot of times in life, we think that we're alone, right? We think that nobody loves us, nobody cares, but God says, I'm going to be with you. So here's what happened. After Moses died, God chose Joshua himself to lead these people to the promised land. God told Joshua, he says, Moses is gone. It's now your turn to lead. He said, I'm going to give you this land, but he said, here's what you need to do. Now, this is the third time he says this to him. He says, you've got to be strong and courageous. He said it not once, not twice, but 3 times. So if he said it 3 times, it's probably really, really, really important, right? So finally, God gave this powerful promise. He said, do not be afraid, because I'm going to be with you wherever you go. Now, here's what I want you to say. Say, God. That was bad. Say, God goes with me too. Now, I've got a backpack right here. Now, in this backpack, if you were going to go on a mission, somewhere, God told you, you need to go on a mission, you need to pack a backpack, you would pack some supplies. So in my backpack, if I was going to go on a mission, I was going to pack something to drink because, I'm going to be thirsty. So I packed me a drink in my backpack, right? So then I'm on this mission, and I'm like, I need something else. So I'm going to open this backpack up. And in this backpack, I've got something to drink because I need that. And then in this backpack, I got a toothbrush because, my breath's probably going to stink. Okay? And then I got my favorite snack of all. You ever had these? Yeah. They're the cheese pizza flavor, bro. Your breath stinks so bad, but they're so good. That's what everybody at my house says, but I love them. I could eat them all day long. And then you get them at Walmart. They're like $1.50. They're great. Oh, 7-Eleven too, yeah. Okay, but then I need some protection with me, so I got my J Uso. Y'all know who? Can't tell you, secret. So everybody knows this, right? Yeet. So that's my kid's. My kid gave it to me. My kid collects wrestlers. He's obsessed with wrestling. And he said, hey, I need you to take this on the trip to Hawaii with you. He said it'll be like a good luck charm. Even though, sadly, Jey Uso lost to Gunther, but sad. So anyway, so if you were going on a trip, you were going on a mission, what would you pack in your backpack? What is something you'd pack? If you were going on a mission, God said, you got to go on a mission, what would you pack in your backpack? Water. Okay, water, what would you pack?
Maybe a lighter so I could start a fire.
Okay, that was all you would carry. You just wanted a fire.
Maybe like
you would eat nothing.
and some food and some water so I can boil the water and then I can make stuff.
Okay, what would you carry?
I would bring a sleeping bag, a flashlight, some water, a tent.
Your backpack's gonna be heavy.
That's basically a camp.
Yeah, you got a camping bag. Okay, one more person. What would you carry?
So I would get food, water, and stuff, but I would also bring like a wolf or a dog.
You bring a wolf. Where are you gonna get a wolf at?
Just get a bone, like in Minecraft. Just
Get a bone and tape it to your back. Okay, cool. Okay. Well, tell me. You can be the last person to tell me. What would you carry? If you were on a mission, God said, go on this mission. Pack necessities in your backpack. What would you pack? You bring weapons, okay? You'd have to. If she had a wolf, you'd have to. You'd have wrenches, okay? Okay. So just think now what you'd put in your backpack, okay? See, here's the thing. Joshua had this big mission leading a whole nation, but the most important thing he had wasn't in his backpack. The most important thing he had was God's presence. Now listen to me. The most important thing he has was God's presence. It says in Joshua 1:5, it says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. I mean, God's going to be with him. He's got his presence. When he needs something, God's there. When he needs a hug, God's there. When he needs love, when he needs reassurance, God's there. So here's what I want to ask you today. Now, we're going to do this a little different. Here's what I want you to do just for a moment, okay? This is going to be just a little different. You've probably never done this before. But what I want you to do for just a moment, I'm going to ask you a few questions. I want you to close your eyes as the band comes. What I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes your head down. I want to ask you a question. Nobody looking around. Okay? These questions I want to ask you, I want you to pretend for a moment that there's nobody under this tent. It's just me, you, and Jesus. Okay? Heads down, eyes closed. Nobody's around you at all. Heads down, eyes closed. I want to ask you some serious questions. Just me, you, and Jesus under this tent. Question number 1 is this. Do you know that God promises to be with you just like he was with Joshua? Now, do you want to follow God and trust him and lead you like Joshua did? See, Jesus gave up everything for you. He sees that each one of you in this room are a leader. He wants to live in your heart and become your Lord and Savior. So here's the next question. Is there something in your life where you need God's courage right now? Heads down, eyes closed. Is there something in your life right now where you say, I need God's courage? If that's you, raise your hand. You say, I need God's courage. Hands down. Next question is this. Heads down, eyes closed. Would you like to ask God, say, God, I need you to help me be brave and strong in my heart today. If that's you, say, God, I need you to help me be brave and strong in my heart today. If that's you, raise your hand real high. Hands down. Next question. What we're going to do, if you raise your hand to this, we're going to say, would you like someone to pray with me? I want someone to pray with me today because I want to be strong and courageous when things aren't going my way. If that's you and you say, I want God to help me be strong and courageous. If that's you, raise your hand. So here's what we're going to do. With your heads down and your eyes closed. If you're in this room and you raised your hand for any of that stuff at all, you said, I want to be strong and courageous. I need your help. I need some courage. There's some stuff going on in my life that nobody knows about. But God, today, I don't want that hard stuff to be hard anymore. I want it to be easy. If you raised your hand at all for any of that stuff, here's what I want you to do. I want you to quickly and quietly make your way down to this altar and form like a single file line. Who cares who's looking at you? Who cares who's watching you? This is you and Jesus. If you raise your hand to any of that stuff, come line up here and all the way across. When I say 3, 1, 2, 3. Just line up right across right here. Here's what we're going to do. They're going to sing a song. Line up single file like this. Like 1, 2, 3, like this. Okay? And the leaders, if you guys will come and stand behind them. We're going to do a worship. We're going to sing some worship. Pastor Ray was going to move you guys around. We're going to sing some worship. And as you worship, these leaders are going to ask you, what is it you need me to specifically pray for you about? And we're going to pray with you. And we're going to pray and believe that whatever you ask for, whatever you need, if you'll move down this way, if you'll move them down this way for me. We're going to pray with you and believe that whatever you need God to do, he will do in your life. If you're just sitting in the chairs, just stretch your hands like this. And these leaders are going to pray for you. And we're just going to worship. If you're sitting in your chairs, just stretch your hands like this as we worship.